Chapter 5. Within a short walk of Longbourn lived a family with whom the Bennets were particularly intimate. Sir William Lucas had been formerly in trade in Meryton, where he had made a tolerable fortune and risen to the honour of his knighthood by an address to the king during his mayoralty. The distinction had perhaps been felt too strongly. It had given him a disgust to his business and to his residence in a small market town, and quitting them both, he had removed with his family to a house about a mile from Meryton, dominated from that period Lucas Lodge, where he could think with pleasure of his own importance, and unshackled by business, occupy himself solely in being civil to all the world. For though elated by his rank, it did not render him supercilious. On the contrary, he was all attention to everybody. By nature inoffensive, friendly, and obliging, his presentation at St. James's had made him courteous. Lady Lucas was a very good kind of woman, not too clever to be a valuable neighbor to Mrs. Bennet. They had several children. The eldest of them, a sensible, intelligent young woman, about 27, was Elizabeth's intimate friend. That the Miss Lucases and the Miss Bennets should meet to talk over a ball was absolutely necessary, and the morning after the assembly brought the former to Longbourn to hear and to communicate. "You began the evening well, Charlotte," said Mrs. Bennet with civil self-command to Miss Lucas. "You were Mr. Bingley's first choice." "Oh, yes, but he seemed to like his second better." "Oh, you mean Jane, I suppose, because he danced with her twice. To be sure, that did seem as if he admired her. Indeed, I rather believe he did. I heard something about it, but I hardly know what. Something about Mr. Robinson." "Perhaps you mean what I overheard between him and Mr. Robinson. Did I not mention it to you? Mr. Robinson's asking how he liked our Meryton assemblies, and whether he did not think there were a great many pretty women in the room, and which he thought the prettiest, and his answering immediate to the last question, the eldest Miss Bennet, beyond a doubt. There cannot be two opinions on that point." "Upon my word! Well, that was very decided indeed. That does seem as if... But however, it may all come to nothing, you know." "My overhearings were more to the purpose than yours, Eliza," said Charlotte. "Mr. Darcy is not so well worth listening as his friend, is he?" "Oh, poor Eliza, to be only just tolerable." "I beg you will not put it into Lizzie's head to be vexed by his ill-treatment, for he is such a disagreeable man that it would be quite a misfortune to be liked by him. Mrs. Long told me last night that he sat close to her for half an hour without once opening his lips." "Are you quite sure, ma'am? Is not there a little mistake?" said Jane. "I certainly saw Mr. Darcy speaking to her." "Aye, because she asked him at last how he liked Netherfield, and he could not help answering her, but she said he seemed very angry at being spoken to." "Miss Bingley told me," said Jane, "that he never speaks much unless among his intimate acquaintance. With them he is remarkably agreeable." "I do not believe a word of it, my dear. If he had been so very agreeable, he would have talked to Mrs. Long. But I can guess how it was. Everybody says that he is ate up with pride, and I dare say he had heard somehow that Mrs. Long did not keep a carriage, and had come to the ball in a hack chaise." "I do not mind his not talking to Mrs. Long," said Miss Lucas, "but I wish he had danced with Eliza." "Another time, Lizzie," said her mother. "I would not dance with him if I were you." "I believe, ma'am, I may safely promise you never to dance with him." "His pride," said Miss Lucas, "does not offend me so much as pride often does, because there is an excuse for it. One cannot wonder that so very fine a young man, with family, fortune, everything in his favour, should think highly of himself. If I may so express it, he has a right to be proud." "That is very true," replied Elizabeth, "and I could easily forgive his pride if he had not mortified mine." "Pride," observed Mary, who piqued herself upon the solidity of her reflections, "is a very common failing, I believe. By all that I have ever read, I am convinced that it is very common indeed that human nature is particularly prone to it, and that there are very few of us who do not cherish a feeling of self-complacency on the score of some quality or another, real or imaginary. Vanity and pride are different things, though the words are often used synonymously. A person may be proud without being vain. Pride relates more to our opinion of ourselves, vanity to what we would have others think of us. "If I were as rich as Mr. Darcy," cried a young Lucas, who came up with his sisters, "I should not care how proud I was. I would keep a pack of foxhounds and drink a bottle of wine every day." "Then you will drink a great deal more than you ought," said Mrs. Bennet, "and if I were to see you at it, I should take a bottle directly." The boy protested that she should not. She continued to declare that she would, and the argument ended only with the visit. Okay, I think I might make a short about this, but I think this chapter really plays into no, it's not an opinion, it's just a truth, but Pride and Prejudice is not a romance novel. It's often depicted and talked about as if it is, but it's not a romance novel. At its core, it is a social commentary. And what it's commenting on a lot of things. And it does it in some ways that are very subtle and some that are not so subtle. The main thing it's commenting on is what it means to be a good rich person. I notice, all these little details. The world feels very fleshed out. And I notice different things every time. This is actually the first time I've read this book out loud before. And when you read things out loud, you notice things that you maybe don't when your eyes are just going over the page. About my 8th rereading of the book. I've read it once or twice a year since I was in middle school. And something I'm noticing this time around is the Lucas family. Charlotte Lucas, she's the most important Lucas, the one who really even gets more dialogue outside of this chapter. I don't know, the things that make her interesting to me haven't happened yet, but just her contribution to the conversation here with her participating in the outrage against Mr. Darcy's manners, and also sharing her opinions on Mr. Darcy. This chapter is about the difference between pride and vanity. As Mary so cleverly states, pride is all about having a high opinion of oneself, and vanity is being concerned with making yourself worthy of high opinions of others. And something that kind of struck me is Mrs. Lucas's statement that she did not think it very inexcusable that Mr. Darcy should be so prideful, because he has a lot to be proud of. He's rich, he comes from a noble family, he has all these things that are considered to be intrinsically valuable. So because of that social position, she's like, well, it doesn't surprise me that he should, think himself better, because he is better. And the book itself doesn't agree with that. CJ the X has sort of, in their video on Kiki's delivery service, makes a point about the social contract of a gift. CJ presents this as not a when you give something to someone, you're not giving them the object without any expectation. You are giving them the expectation that someday they will do something in turn for you. Or you are giving them the expectation that they will be grateful for you. You're giving them a symbol of your relationship with them. But you are not giving it freely, as so many people would define a gift. Because to receive a gift and not feel any obligation to return it in some sort of way is to neglect the relationship that you have with that person. It's a very interesting video. It's a very interesting philosophy of gift giving, and I'm not really doing it justice. But what I took from it is that in all of our social interactions, we're not necessarily treating it like an exchange of goods and services, but we are treating it as an exchange of something. And that something differs between circumstances. And you should never give something with the expectation that you are going to get something tangible in return. But when you are given something, you are not only given the gift, but you are given the responsibility of gratitude. And the right thing to do with that gratitude is to pay it forward or pay it back in some way. And why I'm talking about this now is because I believe the point that this book is making about wealth and social power is that it is something you are born with, and it is a gift given, maybe by not one specific person, but by society at large. You did not choose to be born into wealth. You did not choose to be born into power, but it is an asset that you have. It is a gift, and it is a gift from sort of a wishy-washy source. You could say it's a gift from your parents, but they didn't choose it either, and it's not like you can pay them back for it. And you have this enormous amount of power, and you have this enormous ability to exploit. And in this time, and to an extent in our time too, if you have that kind of power, everyone, society and individuals within society bow to it. And because you are in that position, it is your responsibility to do as much good with that position as you possibly can. The least you can do is when you go to a ball to smile at people and treat them well, and dance if there is a shortage of gentlemen and women want to dance. The least you can do is be kind and facilitate relationships beyond those of your immediate circle, and be polite to people who you don't know. Because even though individually you have no sort of relationship with them, maybe as Mr. Darcy the man, you have no relationship with them. As Mr. Darcy the public figure, you do have a relationship with them. You might be the person paying the wages of some of their relatives. You may be the person who owns all of the land that these people's food comes from. you can't assume that because you were gifted all of those things, that means that you must be intrinsically better than anyone because the cosmos gave it to you. You know, God blessed your forehead because you were better. You have to show gratitude, whether you believe it was random chance or whether you believe that some higher power gave it to you. And I mean, this book is written from a Christian worldview, so let's take that worldview. God, the Creator, gave you a gift. Now it is your job to use that gift to further His will, to be kind, to maintain order, and to be charitable. Mr. Darcy, in being rude at the ball, has had sort of a microcosm of that, grander idea. He has violated that contract. He has taken the position he was in and he has used it to be rude to people because he believes he is better than them, because he was given a gift. And I don't know, I've talked for a long time now about a very short chapter. Charlotte Lucas. I suppose really what we need to talk about in this chapter is the situation of the Lucas family. Sir William Lucas was given this title and he decided he didn't like it, so he went and he started living a simpler life in Meryton. Meryton is the town that is closest to all of these estates. He has several children. I think in a previous video I said he didn't have any sons, but he does have sons. But his oldest daughter is 27, a positive old maid in this time period, and she's unmarried. Charlotte Lucas, at 27 years old, should be married, but she's not. And that's considered a sort of shame. And at this point, she would start being a financial burden on the family. There's this assumption that if a man does not choose you as a woman by a certain age, then you are useless. You are not fulfilling your godly ordained purpose. And you are shameful. And Charlotte is creeping into that, which is a very uncomfortable position for her to be in and is causing tension in her family. Elizabeth is 21 years old, and she and Charlotte are very close friends. And neither of them are married. Neither of them have had any special attention from a man yet. But Charlotte is older. And at this point, she doesn't really have the view that marriage should be for love. She's given up on that. So, things to consider. See you tomorrow.